We recently got the Hunt Mega Edition, which is the most recent Roblox egg hunt. Therefore, I was motivated to go on an egg hunt of my own and try to find all the Easter eggs in Jailbreak. Now, a lot of these Easter eggs are pretty obvious, but I still was able to find a lot of things that I had no idea existed, especially when we get to the vehicle section. Comment below what you did not know before watching this video, and also let me know if I missed anything, because there were some Easter eggs like the tiny dinosaur that I was searching for, but I could not find at all. Also, big shout out to the Jailbreak Wiki and their page on the Easter eggs. Be sure to check them out because they are an awesome resource. By the way, I also want to give a big thank you to all the Jailbreak creators who I reached out to and told me a lot of really cool stuff about their creations. Hopefully you'll find it cool as well. Anyway, enough yapping. Let's get started. The first Easter egg can be found in the sewer escape as you're leaving the prison. After heading down this ramp, turn around and you will find 4 turtle shells next to a pizza box. This is a pretty obvious reference to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles who live in the sewer and love to eat pizza, but the pizza box itself is also a reference to the iconic Roblox game Work at a Pizza Place. After escaping the prison, head to the mountain that's directly to the right of the prison and you'll find a strange looking creature. It's from the Roblox game Blammo, where you are a Blammo. Heading into the town, if you go to the town garage, you can see that the Tesla on top of it is actually the model for the OG Tesla. When Jailbreak first came out, the garages all had the OG Tesla on top of them. If you head into the donut shop, you can see that the cashier is Bad Cece, one of the developers of the game. Then if you head to the volcano base, if you drop something into the volcano, you can hear the audio of Darth Vader screaming. It's mixed in with the sound effect of the volcano erupting. Then, heading into the city, if you drive past the bank, you'll run into a reddish building that has the shadow of Arnold from the series Hey Arnold on Nickelodeon. Going back to the bank, if you get the underwater vault, if you blow up the second escape, you can get into a secret room. I had a little trouble getting in here, so by the time I got in, the door closed and I could not get back out. Then, a couple buildings behind the jewelry store, you can actually find a baseball field. Heading to the Tomb Desert, you can find a sand castle. It seems to be super durable because I kept jumping on it, but it would not break at all. Heading inside the tomb, if you take the minecart exit that heads towards the city and you look to the right, you could eventually find Indiana Jones running from a boulder, an obvious reference to the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Perhaps this implies that there's even more tombs hidden in Jailbreak that have yet to be dug up. Then, if you go to the criminal base in the city, you can find some graffiti on one of the cargo crates that says Dougal Fox was here. I think Dougal Fox is a developer, but I don't know much about him and I couldn't really find any information on him. You can find some boxes outside of the power plant and the jewelry store that say Jailbreak on them, but they have a curve underneath them that references the iconic Amazon logo. Right next to the power plant, there's an overhang with some lava and snow elements that resembles a face. This monster looking thing is called Dave the Cave. Then if you head into the sloop cave, you can find a zombie in a cage. Perhaps this was someone that was locked up for years, eventually died and then became a zombie. Speaking of cages, you can find a cage in the middle of the lake that is in front of the bank. This is Cheater Island, and it was added in 2018 to trap hackers and publicly humiliate them for the whole server to see. I never saw any of these hackers myself, but I would always see them in Napkin 8 videos, and it was really funny because a lot of times the hackers would still find a way to get out of the cage. Going back to the sloop, if you get the sloop and you drive it to the shipwreck, which is next to the old max security prison, if it's raining and you crash into the shipwreck, then the sloop will be transformed into the Flying Dutchman, and you will hear some audio referencing a SpongeBob episode with the Flying Dutchman. You can actually still customize the sloop when it is in Flying Dutchman mode, but the sails will stay torn up and green. The cruiser is also transformed when driving into the shipwreck, though it's less spectacular than the sloop. The body color is just changed to a very dark shade of green. Heading to the museum, you can also see that there's a few artifacts referencing parts of Jailbreak. You can find a box that is from the tomb. There's a portrait of Asimo and Bad Cece in the museum, but these portraits are actually referencing what is believed to be the first ever meme. On this painting with the Camaro driving, you can see the date is February 2017. So I guess this was when they were testing the game before they officially released it. You can also see a painting referencing the iconic Starry Night, but there there's a Black Hawk featured in there. There's also a painting referencing the painting by Edvard Munch called The Scream, but it features a guy named Wood Reviewer. Then finally, the iconic Mona Lisa has its head replaced with a chicken. And in this room over here, you can also see the fidget spinner rims. In this area over here, you can also see a donut, a bunch of gold probably taken from the bank, the iconic fidget spinner rims, and the worst vehicle in the entire game. If you go on top of the train tunnel, which is by the criminal base in the city, you can see a sunflower with a face on it. Speaking of the train, you can actually see that the driver of the cargo train is Crit Stykes. He had joined the Jailbreak development team from 2022 to 2024, and he brought about updates like the Hyperchromes, airdrops, the CEO boss battle, and crew battles. Once you're done hitching a ride on the cargo train, if you head to the gas station for a quick refresher, you will see a paper airplane on the ground. It actually moves when you keep running into it. You can also see that the cashier of the gas station is none other than Asimo, the other developer of Jailbreak. Next, if you head to the mountains by the airport forest, you will see a tree with a picture of a horse on it. This is a reference to Creekcraft, who was a Jailbreak YouTuber until 2020. If you crash into the tree, the picture of Creekcraft will actually fall from it as well. You can also find some jelly beans nearby, and I really don't know this reference. If you know, please comment below. Maybe the devs just really like jelly beans. Heading into the map expansion, if we go to the military base, we can see a broken black meteor. This represents the remains of the original meteor that crashed into Jailbreak in 2017, which opened up and revealed a UFO inside. The military dragged it to their military base with some monster trucks, and they brought it with them when they relocated their military base to the map expansion. Inside the open meteor, you can also find a meerkat. Maybe this is the secret military commander. Then leaving the military base, if you look on top of one of the mountains, you will find a bunch of cops that are camping.
Say that again?
If you head to the casino and the private jet, you can see a crown pattering along the floor and on the walls, which is an obvious reference to the owner of both of these being the CEO. Speaking of the CEO, if you head to the airdrops and you take a look at the site, you can see some very faint text that says property of the boss. Also in the casino, if you open the doors and head inside after putting in the code, to the right, you will find some double doors that don't open up or lead to anything at all. I wonder if this was teasing an initial expansion to the casino that the devs just never got around to doing. Then heading to the mansion, if you take a swim in the pond behind it, you will find a star. This is a reference to the game Ultimate Marble Rider created by Asimo. It's been present in the game for a very long time, but in different locations, and this seems to be its residence for now. Heading inside the mansion robbery, take a right before you head into the dining room, and you will find a chicken costume. This is referencing the Ready Player One event in Jailbreak, where there was a chicken that was giving players clues on what to do, and this Easter egg confirms that it was the CEO or one of his NPCs that was doing this. When escaping the mansion, if you take a right, you can see some nods to past live events. You can see a big meteor magnet, which explains how the CEO was able to attract meteors to Jailbreak and cause the 2022 live event. Since hyperchromes were canonically found in Jailbreak meteors, perhaps the CEO worked with the aliens to tune the magnet to attract hyperchromes, which explains how he was able to only attract meteors but not anything else. We can also see a big control room with a planet on the screen that resembles Saturn. This is how he was communicating with the aliens, and this is probably their homeworld. You can also see a note taped to the wall on the right that says, "We will never stop fighting for Jailbreak," and it's from players in the past, present, and future. Real quickly, let's also discuss some Easter eggs in vehicle items. So first up, on the unified rims, there's some text across the wheels that reads "Race for Unity." It's a reference to this team slogan used by the 5-star team from the Wipeout series. The recent animated roadside wing has an animation with the Camaro and the Torpedo, as well as a vehicle called the Bird Scout, which was submitted on Reddit but obviously did not make it into the game. Finally, the suitcase spoiler from Season 9 has a few Easter eggs on it. First up, it has a JBMS Easter egg, which is referencing a popular Jailbreak Discord server that was basically hosting a bunch of races at the time. You can also see a sticker that says "Look to the Sky," which was referencing hints to the 2022 live event, and there's an Asimo and Bad CC sticker on there as well. There's also some Easter eggs in a few furniture items. The fish tank has a cargo ship destroyed in it. The neon sign translated says Jailbreak. This red and black chair is referencing PewDiePie's iconic gaming chair. If only it would let us do this. Finally, the double-decker couch is obviously referencing the Lego movie. Now let's make our way over to the trade port where we will discuss the Easter eggs in the trading hub. First up, we can see that the figurehead on the ship is actually a reference to Dapper Eric, who is a tester that we will discuss momentarily. Heading to the trade hub, we can see a box filled with the testers that test Jailbreak and look for issues with it. I'll explain their roles and some Easter eggs that they're holding. First up is Dapper Eric, the guy we just talked about. He is holding a wrench and it represents something that they all do, which is help fix the game. He's kind of the glue that holds the testing team together. And within the wrench image, you can see some grids that resemble Google Sheets, which references how the testers keep track of everything. Then there's a guy named Just Salads. He's an in-game mod that helps with anti-cheat. Then there's Shadow Samurai, which many of you might know as a Jailbreak community creator, but he is also responsible for vehicle tuning, and he is holding a steering wheel to represent that. Then there's Alicia, who is a mobile tester, and she's holding an iPad to represent this. Then there's Battle Guy. He's a console tester, and that's why he's holding a controller. Then there's Pikachu Wolverine. He basically tries to break the game in any way he can, and that's why he's holding a hammer. Then, finally, there's Real Resistance. He's the fool of the team. The C4 is an inside joke among the team since he's a big part of that. Unfortunately, I don't fully know what everybody does on the team, but I do think I mainly covered the guys with the props. Around the trading hub, you can find a few vehicle statues. There's a statue of a torpedo, an M12 Molten, and the Torero. You can also see 3 pillars arranged, and the pattern on the floor represents the fidget spinner rim, which is one of the most rare items in Jailbreak. Nearby the main trading center, there's also a fidget spinner rim representation. If you climb up one of the mountains, you can see a statue holding the Roblox symbol, and it has wings on it, which represents a Bloxy award. This represents the Bloxy awards that the devs won for developing Jailbreak in 2018, where they earned quite a few of them. When you go to the shores, you can see a Moi statue, which is a popular emoji basically used to express bruh. Then finally, behind it on the stairs going up, you can see a blank sheet of paper taped to the steps. This used to have a Rickroll Easter egg, but it has since been removed, and I don't know why, though I would guess it's probably to avoid getting copyrighted, maybe. Finally, let's discuss the Easter eggs that can be found in Jailbreak vehicles. Almost every Jailbreak vehicle has a unique license plate, and we will discuss them, but several vehicles also have a few hidden details that I will show you. I'll put time codes so you can skip ahead to the vehicles that have more than just unique license plates. First up, we have the Camaro, which has a bruh license plate. This is referencing the term that many people, including my usernames this, gave the Camaro, where they just called it the bruh car for some reason. And I really don't understand why it got that name, but that's why it has that license plate. Then with the OG Lambo, which you could unlock from the 2024 live event, the license plate says established 2017, obviously referencing the year that Jailbreak was created. The NASCAR 75 says 75 years on its license plate, which references the 75-year anniversary of NASCAR and the collab that they did with Jailbreak. The NASCAR 76 has a NASCAR license plate, but the skin that is unique to this vehicle also has a few Easter eggs within itself. We can see a Bado's Donut Shop sponsor, a Batico motor oil sponsor, which obviously references Dynaco, and Space Z rocket fuel sponsor. Then moving over to the Jeep, the license plate says Guzzler, obviously referencing that Jeeps are not necessarily the most gas efficient vehicles. The Celestial has the license plate Boss Car, which makes sense since it's from the Boss Game Pass. Then the SWAT van has a SWAT 03 license plate. The pickup has a Diesel license plate, which references how it spawns next to the gas station. The Deja has a Drifter license plate, which references how good it is at drifting. The Model 3 has a LOL gas license plate. Obviously, since it's electric, it's making fun of gas users. But if you take a closer look at the interior, you can see that the console has the Jailbreak map posted on it. So I guess Tesla users still need to use Google Maps to get around the Jailbreak map and haven't fully memorized it yet. The Mini Cooper has a Mini license plate, and it also has some text on it that says Classic, indicating that it is a classic vehicle. The Ray has a license plate that says Sting, obviously referencing Stingrays. Then moving on to the Fiasco, we can see the license plate says it was created by Mr. Oof. The Interrogator has a license plate that says G042117, which references Jailbreak's release date on April 21st, 2017. We can also see in the Interrogator that there is a donut on the dashboard, referencing how many cops have a proclivity for eating donuts. The SUV has a retired license plate, which obviously references its status as a retired vehicle. The Dune Buggy has a fixed license plate, which references how it's not buggy anymore and you can actually control it. The tow truck has a Mater license plate, referencing Mater from the Cars movies. The Laviolette has a license plate that says by Zero. The date on the license plate says April 2017, which of course is Jailbreak's release date. It follows California license plate conventions. Then we can also see a string of numbers preceded by R, which indicates Jailbreak's release date, but the month and day are switched. SMH my face, this is completely wrong. Finally, when looking on the dash, you can see it says Laviolette. We can also see a radar detector, and when you use the lowrider function, the rear side quarter windows will go down with it, which creates a pillarless coupe. The Classic has a Boomer license plate, which references a popular meme around the time, which was "Okay, Boomer." It was used to refer to things that old people were saying that were found kind of cringe. Man, I hate that I'm so old that I now have to explain what "Okay, Boomer" means. The Badger has a license plate that says by Rally, because the creator was Rally Subby. The Boxer license plate says Spider, and this is referencing the car that the Boxer is based off of, a Porsche Spider. The Challenger license plate says Muscle, referencing its status as a muscle car. The same also applied to its predecessor, the Mustang. The OG Porsche license plate says Posh. It also says Classic. Then we have the Camper Van, which has a license plate that says it was created by Icleon. Moving on to the Tanker Truck, we have a Bees Buzz license plate referencing the creator, but we can also see that there is actually a spot for a spare tire underneath, but for some reason there is no spare tire there. The license plate of the ambulance says Medic. The Shell Mark 5 license plate says by Magay. The Semi license plate says by Icleon, but if we also look inside the semi truck, we can see a microwave, a TV, and some beds. Since truck drivers have to drive for so long, they should have some entertainment and a place to rest when they're stopped. I do wish we could actually lay down in this bed though. Moving on to the Lamborghini, we have an Italian license plate, which references how the Lambo is an Italian vehicle. The NASCAR 73 has a NASCAR license plate. Then the Cybertruck has a Muskie license plate, which references the 47th president of the United States.
I am become meme.
The Little Bird also has the Jailbreak map displayed on the console. The Cirrus has a Bull license plate. The Falcon has a Guest license plate, which references the creator, and his name is Guest 51525366177. I guess they thought that would be too long to put on a license plate. Then moving on to the Prison Bus, we have a Bussin license plate. At the time that the Prison Bus came out, people would refer to things that were cool as bussin'. The Prison Bus is also a pretty obvious reference to the Battle Bus from Fortnite. Moving on to the Hammerhead, it has a license plate saying it was created by Baze GFX, and it was actually also inspired by the GTA ramp buggy. Then the Ray 9 has a Truminator license plate referencing the creator. The Ferrari has a Vroom license plate. The Controller license plate says by Speed Queen, who is the creator of it. The Sentinel has a license plate that says by Icleon. The DeLorean license plate says Hongo. It is referencing the guy behind the Jailbreak DeLorean Twitter account, and basically what he would do is just ask the devs every day for a few months to add the DeLorean, which the devs finally did in 2020, and they put him on this license plate to reference it. The XRK has a Cha trademark license plate, and the creator actually told me that the exterior model was created back in 2020, which was about 4 years before the XRK would actually get added to the game. The interior was changed using the Lamborghini Huracan and influenced after watching Cyberpunk Edgerunners. The Venom has a V8 Eater license plate, which is a reference to a 2017 commercial of the Dodge Viper by Pennzoil. The date on the license plate is April 2017, which is referencing Jailbreak's release date. This license plate is also based on California license plate conventions. The license plate also has a redirect linked to jailbreak.bedemo.org, which references that in the state of California it would be dmv.california.gov. And then on the 2017 sticker we can see a string of numbers, and that is actually Finder's Roblox account ID. And that is because the creator of this car collaborated with Finder quite a bit. On the speedometer on the Venom, instead of a gauge needle, there is an icon of a bunny, which is referencing the creator Plasmazilla, and this is referencing the character Y5 from Adventure Time, which Plasmazilla is a big fan of. Then you can see here there's a center screen with a picture of the Venom, and if you change your headlight color of the vehicle, it will actually change the color of the Venom on this screen. Moving on to the Megalodon, we can see that the license plate is 720, which references that it was created after a McLaren 720. It also says Classic. The Veyron has a license plate that says the OG. It also says Classic. The Torero has a license plate that says Wedge, and it also says Limited on it. The M12 Fulton has a license plate that says by Rally. The Airtail has an MCL license plate which references its status as a McLaren, but also has text on it that says retired. Speaking of MCL, let's also talk about the MCL 36, of which the license plate also just says MCL 36. It was actually not created by Asimo or any community creator. McLaren sent the devs a model of it, and the devs reworked it a little bit to make it lower poly. The texture of the MCL 36 also has many IRL sponsors, so I guess they also exist within the world of Jailbreak. Finally, the rims on the MCL 36 are exclusive to it. You can't put them on any other vehicle. The devs were going to try to negotiate with McLaren to be able to get the items to put on other vehicles, but they ran out of time. Moving to the Chiron, it has a license plate that says pizza, which references the creator Pizza Rules. Then it also has another Easter egg, which is personally one of my favorites. On the steering wheel, you can see a very familiar logo. I guess this implies that within the Jailbreak lore, I operate a company that produces Bugatti Chirons, but for some reason, I don't produce any other vehicles. The Agent has a license plate that says by Zero because the creator is Zero Tsu. The Snake has a license plate that says by Oofed, but if we look inside the Snake, we can also see a strange little creature on the passenger side. This is the Shrinch, a mix between Shrek and the Grinch. It's present on all of Oofed's creations except for the Army Heli. My theory is that the Shrinch is a magical little creature in Jailbreak that produces vehicles for some reason. Moving on to the Successor, it has a Truminator license plate, but if you look in the interior, you can also see a red button that has a Corvette on it, which references the Ray 9, also created by Truminator. The crown was created by Happy Hongo, who we just talked about earlier, and that's what the license plate is referencing. But when the car is parked and the doors are opened, you can see the boss's insignia in there. Then we have the Iceborn, which has a VV Omega license plate referencing the creator. It also has limited text on it, and the top speed of the Iceborn, which I wasn't able to get on video, it's 331 miles per hour, and that's referencing a famous scandal in which Shelby Supercars claimed that Tutara held the production car speed record with a maximum speed of 331 miles per hour, but it was debunked after testing and the company received a lot of backlash for it. Then moving on to the Parisian, the license plate says by Zero. If you go to the place where you would usually put a spoiler, there's a quote that says rear wings are for losers. It's actually a parody of the real car, which says we did not want a rear wing in roughly the same area. We can also see some text on the Parisian that says limited. Then we can also see the sponsor Radwood Energies, and this references the Radwood Car Festival, which is an event centered around 80s and 90s culture. The sponsor itself is a parody of Total Energies, which is the title sponsor of the Pigot's WEC program. Next up is the Carbonara, and there's quite a few Easter eggs in this one. First off, you can see a bunny symbol on the front of the car, and this references Plasmazilla, the creator, who has a bunny avatar. Looking closely at the steering wheel, you can see a teeny bit of text that says Y5. This references a character named Y5 from Adventure Time. We can also see the 08 Motors insignia on the Carbonara, which references Fender's favorite number, 8. Several vehicles in Jailbreak have 08 Motors on them, which implies that there is a production company in Jailbreak run by Fender called 08 Motors. This car also has limited text written on it, but it's very unique here because it's actually something called an ambigram, which is when multiple words are kind of hidden into the same word through some design tricks. This one here says limited, and also it says two united, which represents how Fender and Plasmazilla came together to create this vehicle. This is one of my favorite details in the game, and it's honestly quite incredible. The Carbonara also has a unique license plate template. Below the main text, there's a set of numbers which displays 0417, which references Jailbreak's release date in April 2017. There's a license plate that says B4DMO, and it was based on the Indonesian license plate format, which is both Plasmazilla's and Fender's home country, and they did this in hopes of making Indonesian Jailbreak players feel more represented because they felt that there weren't enough representations of them on Roblox. Moving on to the Aperture, it has a license plate that says by Inth. It was created by a guy named Stealth Inth. Then moving on to the Javelin, we have a license plate that says by Oofed. It also has the Shrinch insignia inside it. Then moving on to the Trailblazer, we have a license plate that says by Sharky Cat, which references the creator, but it has some really weird characters on it. The back of the Trailblazer also strongly resembles the Tumbler from the Dark Knight movies. Then moving on to the Tank, we can see the license plate says Tank You. The Monster has a license plate that says Chop. Up next, we have the Scorpion, which also has quite a few Easter eggs in it. First off, it was also created by 08 Motors, and we can see some text representing that. Then moving into the interior, we can see a bunch of details near the steering wheel. There's a bunch of dials and labels which can usually be found in race cars like PSI, fuel, oil, and stuff, but there's some unique details in here as well. There's a LPP symbol, which represents represents a Discord server that Plasmazilla runs with Finder. You can also see TA, which references Twin Atlas, a company that Plasmazilla works for. Then there's Y5 and BMO, which are two of Plasmazilla's favorite characters from the show Adventure Time. And the fact that he put Y5 in another vehicle before this definitely signifies how much he loves it. Moving on to the concept car, it has a concept license plate. The show license plate says by Oof Ed. You can also see the Shringe insignia behind the driver's seat. The Manta has a stealth license plate. Then to wrap things up, we're going to look at the hidden details in the Jailbreak season vehicles. First up with the Torpedo, the license plate says the King, which references the status that many people give it. It also has some text on it that says Classic. The Batmobile license plate says Batman. The R8 license plate says Vroom. The Raptor license plate says RAR. The Beam Hybrid license plate says Season 1. There's also some rare item text on it. The Crew Capsule also has some rare item text on it. The Volt 4x4 has a Volt 4x4 license plate, but it also says rare item on the right side of the spoiler, and the spoiler is a big version of the Volt Wing. The Rattler has a license plate that says by Shadow, referencing the creator Shadow Samurai. It also says rare item. The Banana Car says by Super Pro on its license plate. It also says rare item. The Bolide says by Rally on its license plate. The Icebreaker says by Italimpex on its license plate. The Jackrabbit says by Oof Ed on its license plate, but we can also see the Shringe insignia inside of it. The Macaron license plate says by Die. The Bloxy license plate says by Sharky Cat. The Tiny Toy license plate says Baby Bruh, which references the bruh card term that the community has given the Camaro. The Goliath has an AFM 72 license plate, which is part of the OG name of the vehicle. Inside the Goliath, we can see a rock with a happy face. Apparently his name is Hector.
Last chance to look at me, Hector.
The ammo boxes inside, apparently they're based on the ones from TF2 and Apex Legends. Then moving on to the Bandit, we can see the license plate says by Housel. The Proto 08 says by Speed Queen on the license plate. It also says 08 on the side, which references Finder's favorite number. Moving on to the Shogun, the license plate says Eyes, referencing the creator Eyes of Oblivion. It also says 08 Motors on the side, which indicates that Finder's company was responsible for producing it, and obviously references that Finder helped create this vehicle. We can also see a little girl icon on the Shogun, which is the signature of Eyes of Oblivion. It's his original character, and her name is Toby. There's also a Wakaba symbol pasted on the back of the Shogun, and this symbolizes that a driver is inexperienced. In Japan, it's basically by law that new drivers have to put it on their car for at least a year after getting their driver's license. The Shogun also has a completely unique texture that spawns with it, and the dragon that is on that texture is a reference to Shenron from Dragon Ball Z. Then moving on to the Poseidon, it has a license plate that says Poseidon. Moving on to the Power 1, it has a license plate that says Starboy. This is referencing one of the songs from the popular singer The Weeknd. Apparently he likes the P1 a lot, which is why they put this as a nod to him on the license plate. We can also see the Shringe insignia inside the Power 1, and also we can see it was created by 08 Motors, since Fender helped create this vehicle with Oof Ed. Moving on to the Longhorn, we can see the license plate says Eyes, since it was created by Eyes of Oblivion. Moving on to the interior, we can see the center console looks like a horse saddle. We can also see a horseshoe around the gear shifter. Up next, we have the Frost Crawler. We can see the license plate says by Puga, and also if you look closely at the license plate template, it says Ice Cold Prisoner. Looking inside the vehicle, we can see Poog Works on the interior. I guess Puga also runs his own jailbreak company, but I guess they've only manufactured one vehicle so far. Then the Striker license plate says by Yamels, and also there's some written text underneath that says Someone Alive, referencing the dire apocalyptic state. The OG monster truck has a license plate that says I'm back, which references how the devs said in 2022 they would bring it back, and players were asking about it for a couple years, so this license plate declared that it was finally back. Then the Maverick actually has a really cool detail in the front. I've never ever seen it, but it's actually really well done. This is the logo of the creator, Sardarji, and it has a turban and a mustache, which references his religious identity as a Sikh. The hood of the Maverick is also completely black, no matter how you customize it, and that is referencing Sardarji's dad's favorite vehicle, which is a Charger with a black hood. Finally, the license plate says by Sardarji. Moving on to the Wedge, the license plate says Turbo 7, and then the creator told me that the Wedge was based off of the W8. We can also see on the hood there's a cool little logo in here. You can see a cat, which is the creator's favorite animal. You can also see 7, which is the creator's favorite number, and you can also see 4, which is the creator's unlucky number. Finally, the engine, which is pretty easy to see, is based off of the Sledgehammer Corvette with the F40 layout. Moving on to the Storm Rider, we have a license plate that says Icleon, referencing the creator. And finally, we have the most recent vehicle with the Revox, and the license plate says by Yamels. It's also pixelated. But yeah, that should cover all of the Easter eggs that I was able to find in Jailbreak. Now, there's a good chance that I missed a few things, so if there was anything that I did not discuss, please tell me in the comments and tell me where I could find them. Let me know which of these Easter eggs you most enjoyed, and if there were any that you did not know about before you watched this video. If you enjoyed, I'd love to see you like and subscribe and become a part of the Noob Freak team. Join my Discord and Roblox group linked in the description below, and have a great rest of your day or night. Bye.